go around the room. Your name? Michael. Why did you want to get into sales?
Because of what I can learn. I've heard a lot even about the skills of what which sales requires and how it can mold you as an individual. And it's something which I've always wanted to do in terms of communication. Growing up, it's like, especially where I was from, like the communication sides don't really know how to communicate sometimes. It's like, even as I grew up more, it's like I realised the importance of it. And just also the challenge aspect of it. Like I was saying to these lot earlier, like when I'm in Heathrow and I'm working at security, it's like everyone's comfortable there. And it's like I don't want to be it's comfortable.
Yeah, comfort zone, yeah. Okay. Yourself, sorry, what's your name?
Hello.
What's your reason why you're going to sales?
Well, I've had like customer service experience before, growing up, and then it's a case of I wanted to decide going back to what the gentleman was saying earlier about the why. I've always wanted to work with like young people, so that was one of my whys. But now I'm kind of like taking myself away from, again, going back to like comfort zone, taking myself out of that comfort zone, and kind of like express myself a bit more, and be able to kind of like use my transferable skills from like my current role as a teacher into like the sales rep. That's mainly my why.
So your name?
Satnam.
Satnam, yeah. What's your why?
I think it's the best skill to have in life, to learn how to communicate, to negotiate, and take that everywhere with you in life. So that's the reason for me.
Help you in your personal life as well.
It'll just change you.
I agree. 100%. So your name? What's your why?
I've got that sales experience in the past, and thought that was good at building that rapport with customers.
What kind of sales was it?
It was more retail. I was working at EE as well. So I wanted to take that step up, go a bit further with my sales career. That's what I wanted to take.
So your name?
My name is Nilesh. I've been doing Iceland delivery driving and McDonald's jobs, so I have a constant customer experience. So I feel like tech sales is best suited for me because I can deal with customers. I know how I've come across different types of people. I understand that everyone has their own situation, and I feel like I have the skills to connect with them and really get through to them and really do get sales in my business.
Similar to Tarek then, John. Jackie has your background.
Similar, and actually was it Gulid who came for our program to do one in fintech as SDR. You went to school with him, or
Yeah, I went to school with him.
He was a few years older than you, so yeah.
Nice. Yourself?
Simba.
Similar.
I think it's the next step in my growth. I've reached a point in life where I kind of feel like I've got no choice but to get into sales and just
What do you mean by no choice?
I hate what I'm doing now. It's not working.
What are you doing, sorry?
I'm an intensive housing specialist.
Okay.
So I help vulnerable people manage their tenancies and that sort of thing. The progression for that specifically is not something that's going to help me achieve what I want to achieve in life.
Okay.
And I've always been learning. I've done boot camps before. They just haven't worked out. And I'm quite spiritual. I think similar to what that guy was saying before. It's, when it's your time, it's your time. When something happens, at the time it happens, you know.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, when I came across Entr, I was just kind of like, yeah, this is like the next step for me.
You're part of Jack's,
Yeah.
Sorry, your name?
My name's Yasmin.
Yasmin, yeah.
So the reason why I want to get into sales, I've done door-to-door commission-only sales before when I was younger, and the thing that drove me was obviously I like problem solving in my personal life, and if I can do that and get money as well, then why not? I'm very financially motivated, and I've been only doing that for maybe 9 months, I think, and I was able to help customers because it was customer facing role, but I had to find my own clients. So it was a lot of challenges, but I don't really shy away from things like that. I've dealt with a lot of rejections as well, but again, I know how resilient I am and I know how hardworking I am. But because it was commission only, it just wasn't stable. So I went from that to youth work, which because again, with building relationships, building trust and helping young people. And then also content, which is the money side, influencing people to buy things, and that is something I enjoy doing. So if I could do both, tech sales just make the most sense. So.
Good answer. Yourself?
Hi, my name is Sindhis, and the reason why I joined tech sales is because I've always love the idea of helping people and solving problems, and as well it has technology to do it as well.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that. And like I'm always been around with customer services and things like that, and I just feel like it's a new experience and it just is a booster for me.
Okay.
Something I should get into.
The reason why I asked you guys this is like when me and Jack connected and he told me, how much it costs you guys per month, and like I salute you guys, because that's a big commitment to make, and obviously Jack's course is worthy of the cost. However, it's still a cost, right? And a lot of you guys are young, a lot of you guys are probably starting out your careers and so forth. So I never made that commitment. Had I made that commitment, I don't know. But like for you guys to be paying £300-400, whatever it is per month, like I could tell that you guys are serious. So the reason why we took on people like Amir, Erin, Simeon is because like we're thinking like, look, you guys are serious. Like, can you now back in the interview? Can we see are you serious or not? So a bit of interview advice for you guys is like, if they do come to you and say like, how serious are you guys? Just say to them, look, I spent £3-4 grand of my money to do this without even a guaranteed job in the back of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like that's a thing that I take seriously, the MD took seriously because it's a big commitment. So fair play to you guys because that just shows your level of seriousness. Okay, so I'm gonna go through. Obviously, Jack asked me to go through my kind of history of my career. Obviously started out kind of junior sales role, SDR role, and stuff, and where it took me. I take it you guys, some of you probably want to get into maybe AE leadership down the line and stuff. So Jack thought it's a good opportunity for me to share my background. So I'll go through some of my professional journey, my personal achievements throughout the journey, what I've learned, and the plan and expectations. That's more for the team, but what I expect kind of people who report into me to do. Anyone seen this before? Yeah? What are your thoughts on it?
I think it's absolutely true because especially when as a content creator, I see people always flashing things, but they don't understand how much work they've done behind what their success. So this is absolutely true. Like you don't see how much time people put in, and also how early they wake up and how resilient they have to be, all that stuff.
And what they've done, right?
Yeah, and the sacrifices.
The reason why I've done this is because, like, myself, I got promoted internally and stuff. But a lot of new people joined afterwards, and they may have had more experience than me. They may have had a stronger background than me. A lot of the guys reporting to me are older than me, right? However, what I wanted to emphasize when I got the promotion, this is kind of part of the presentation I did, is that look, you guys are probably looking at this, right? Oh, wide sales director, big title, this. But you haven't seen none of this, right? And that's not your fault. But I'm just showing you that I've done that to get there. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So people need to remember that sometimes people just see people at the top, but they don't understand that they're going through the process to get there. So, a lot of times in sales, you guys need to be patient. Because sometimes, we'll have SDRs come in here, like your Amir and Simeon, and they'll be like, I may mention, I want to start selling now. Down the line, 100% you can sell, but he just needs to kind of slow down as well, because people who are making you 100Ks, 150Ks and stuff per year, they've been in the game for 10 years, 15 years. Does that make sense? So you can't rush that process. So there's always kind of stepping stones to get to where you need to get to.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'll whiz through my professional journey. I think, Jack, do you remember MFI or not?
MFI, I don't actually.
Yeah, so they were just like, probably similar to your Magnet or your Sharp's bedroom. So they used to sell kitchens, bedrooms and bathrooms. So I'm 34 years old now. So back then I must have been around, how many years ago? 19 years old. Probably around 15, 16 or something when I started my career there. So my dad used to work there as a sales guy. So I don't know if any of your parents or family members are in sales. That was one of the drivers for me. So I just used to work on the weekends after school. And yeah, I just loved it. I just loved talking to people. It felt weird. I was kind of connecting with customers who were in their 40s and 50s. And I was like a 15-year-old kid trying to sell them expensive stuff. So yeah, definitely get thrown into the deep end. I was then actually at Virgin Media for a little while. So a lot of the guys who go out to customers' houses to fix their broadband, fix their internet connection and that kind of stuff. But I realized very quickly that being in the cabinet when it's cold, dark and wet like it is 80% of the time in the UK was not for me. So I kind of very quickly stood away from that. I then went into my first office role, so a company called CPM. So they're a bit more of a research advisory company. So what they do is they do run different campaigns. So one day I'll be calling from Mars, one day I'll be calling from Mazda, one day I'll be calling from Nike. But you get to speak to customers and stuff like that. So that was really good in helping me build my communication skills and stuff. So when I kind of got my So this was Anytime Fitness. Anyone members of Anytime Fitness? You obviously heard of it, yeah. So this was probably my first like sales role, I would say. So that was 2013, which is probably around 12 years ago now. So when I was in my early 20s. So here I learned a lot of skills because what happened was the gym was just a concept. So the gym wasn't actually built yet. But we were going in town centres, shopping centres, and we were actually trying to sell people the gym membership just based on pictures and iPad and stuff. So I don't know if any of you guys have ever done outreach on the streets and stuff, like I think Josh mentioned you did that. So anything like fundraising, anything like that, just throw yourself in the deep end because it will help you. And then obviously, as you can see there, I was helping drive performance. We took the gym from 0 members to 1,600 members and grossing over 250 a year, promoted to club manager and stuff. And Entr Fitness is a franchise-based model. So the owner actually gave me a free membership for life, which I'm still utilising now. So yeah, it's like, if you leave a good impression on someone and they do run a small business, they would appreciate you. We were doing some outreach with the Running Man. So yeah, we literally did be out there in the shopping centres and stuff, showing people the iPad. There's no gym there yet, and we had to create the concept for them. So yeah, that was my first like real kind of touch into kind of sales and how it was. So obviously all the guys that work there today were part of BT Local Business. So BT is obviously the big umbrella, but local businesses are all set up around different areas across the UK. So I'm personally from High Wycombe, so it's a bit out in the sticks towards Oxfordshire. So I started my journey in Oxford and Bucks, which is literally on the doorstep for me between 2015 and 2016. So here was the email I got from the sales director at the time, just kind of telling me about what my basic salary was and stuff. So as you guys can, the reason why I put that there is to show you guys, like I said, what I mentioned earlier, everything starts at grass level, right? So everything starts at, your basic salary, which is probably what you guys don't want. However, just that's how you get your foot through the door. Shows you your kind of ramp target and sales target and stuff like that. So I was there from July 2015 to July 2016. So I had a good successful year there. And I was one of only 2 people to get headhunted into the City of London, which was obviously a massive opportunity. So here's my offer letter there, which says it's starting on the 1st of August. And yeah, congratulations. So that was one of the recruiters that headhunted me at the time. The reason why I added this is, like, I don't know if you guys have started doing it yet, but when you do start your career in sales, have a brag folder. Anything like this, keep it. When you go for interviews, like anything like on a smaller scale, you can show where you stood out, or it can show that you're actually organized, that you've kept stuff. People come and interview with me, if they bring like a folder or show a few emails or share something before the interview, that look, this is what I've done. Like this email is from 2015, I've still got that. So like have a brag folder, back things up that will help you in your career, because you never know when you're gonna have to need them. So that was July 2017. I came here for the first time. So this is actually my second time back here, which I'll go into here. So I originally started here in July 2016. So it was quite a big step up for me. So where I was in Oxford and Bucks. I literally probably walk home and take me around 10 minutes. And my parents at the time said to me, "You're going for the same basic salary. You're going to pay around 400 quid a month in travel. Why are you taking that jump?" But I always thought to myself, look, I want to go above and beyond here, and I want to take that next step. So, like I said, it was a kind of big step for me. The office environment and culture you see here now is what we've created. It wasn't like that back in the day. It was quite, you get different sales environments. You probably tell that from when you go to the interview, and just quite straight away. Like you can see if it's hostile, if it's dog eat dog, if it's a bit of a boiler room setup, or you've got a collaborative environment where people want to support each other. So back then, because the leadership was different, MK, who me shortly, has taken over the last few years, and we've done a lot of work to improve the environment. So that's big for us here. So in the first couple of weeks, due to kind of the environment and set up, I didn't have any systems, any access. It was literally just cold calling, and just like the way it was then, like a couple of you guys asked about onboarding. They was like chucking you, like they wanted to kind of see if you can sink or swim. So they'll say, call from Yellow Pages, call from Google, just do what you got to do. And yeah, I got quite lucky because I called a company that were actually moving, and yeah, ended up having a brilliant kind of opportunity and deal. And that was one of the emails that went out there to say, so where's that email? It doesn't say the date on that email. I think it was in August. So I joined within the first few weeks. They were saying that, yeah, as you guys can see there, I did X amount of GP, which stands for gross profit. So again, what I was referring to earlier, like save these kind of emails because it'll go a long way for you, and it'll show kind of, what you're about and what you did. Yeah, so like I said, I was quite lucky for me, because in that kind of environment, if and when you do work in that kind of environment, it's very important you try and hit the ground running, because Unfortunately, some sales companies are a bit sink or swim. Obviously, hopefully you'll find somewhere that does onboard you guys properly and collaborate and support you guys. However, you know, if you are in that environment where it's sink or swim, you just got to kind of double down. You've got to kind of build a reputation. So I built a reputation of kind of forging relationships with my AEs. I was gaining traction in the office as being a hard worker, like first one in, last one out. You don't have to do that. However, it's good to kind of stand out, like the guys mentioned earlier as well. So within 6 months, due to that, I received a pay rise and my travel was paid for. So because of my original kind of doubts about going, that was raised straight away because now it's a good move for me. However, I had to take that risk to make the move because it could have been the fact that I went there, didn't work out, I was 2-3 grand down because of the travel, right? So literally keep your head down, keep working. And as a few of these guys have mentioned to you now, your best friends are your phone and your laptop. So like literally just got to kind of keep on working on what you're doing. This is one email I received from the sales director at the time. He sent this to BT there. So LeBron James, when playing basketball for his high school, attracted A-listers such as P. Diddy, I won't mention him anymore, Jack Nicholson to his games. They just knew they were watching a future superstar. They wanted to be a part of it and say, I saw him when he was playing at school. I have a future superstar in my office. Waj Ali is a professional, focused sales machine. It's a complete pleasure having him here working for us. So again, what I referred to earlier, have those emails, save these things. It's going to build your brand, build your awareness, and make you kind of, sometimes, you know, even me, I still doubt myself sometimes, but when I see things like that, it makes me remember kind of, you know, what I did and what I'm kind of capable of and stuff. So yeah, definitely do kind of keep a hold of these brag folders. Anyone heard of Gartner? Does anyone know about Gartner? Jeff, I assume you know about them, yeah?
Yeah.
Anyone else know? So Gartner are a massive kind of, I'll just through this, they're massive kind of large information research companies. So their revenue is ridiculous, as you can see there, 5.9 million and stuff. So what Gartner basically do is they research, advise companies. So someone like BT, they'll rank where BT are in regards to internet, mobiles and stuff. So everyone wants to be in Gartner's magic quadrant there. So I got headhunted by them. This was towards the end of 2017. So again, a point just here to mention, if you are doing the right things and if you are making the right noise, like things will kind of come your way. If you're standing up, you don't necessarily have to go looking. So I think Jack wanted me to touch on some of the interview process. So this is probably the toughest interview process I ever went through. It was about 4 stages, and it wasn't so much about the personal stuff. So you see how here Simeon mentioned that, like, you know, we connected with each other, we understood their why and everything. They just want to see kind of a few things there. So it's a 4-stage interview process, and it's based on your traits, and they give you a rating. So they want to know, what's your executive precedence? How can you effectively communicate with stakeholders? So they actually rate you and rank you in this. Doesn't matter how good you are, how much you connect with them, it's irrelevant to them, unfortunately. It's like a scoring system. Pursue pathway to goal. So how coachable are you? You know, do you act on feedback? Do you establish best practices, and do you improve? So if they were to give you some feedback in the interview, or if they were to ask you something, will you actually take that on board and will you apply that straight away? We touched on this massively as well, the will to win. So are you actually hungry? Are you driven? Are you determined in achieving your goals? Quick learner as well, so it's an obvious one. So are you able to hit the ground running? Are you able to adapt and make decisions in different circumstances? And again, are you a lifelong learner? So like Erica mentioned at the start, are you actually able to kind of keep on going? Some people get to a certain level, they'll be like, oh, I know everything now. There may be a bit of arrogance there may be a bit of ego there. But I say to these guys, I can learn from Simeon, I can learn from Amir. Just because I've been in the game for 10, 15 years and I've got this title now, doesn't mean I can't learn from people. So you should always, like, you know, humble yourself and keep your feet on the ground. Integrity as well. So again, doing the right thing when no one's looking. So are you integral with your customers? Are you integral with the co-workers and stuff? So as you can see, it's quite a rigorous process there. So this is the rating scale they gave. So I think, to my knowledge, I think you have to be solid. I think the minimum you have to be is solid at each level, maybe superior. So they give you, I don't know what my ranking eventually was, but again, this was one of the toughest interviews I went to. The reason why I wanted to highlight this is because who Gartner are as a company. So they research everything, right? So they'll know what good looks like. So as a bit of a framework, you guys try and remember this. Obviously, you won't get tested on this unless you interview for Gartner, but I'm pretty sure some other companies use a similar framework in regards to, you know, just make sure. I appreciate you guys are new to the game, so some of this may be limited and not solid yet, but just ensure you're more towards this side of the scale, or you show that you can be more towards this side of the scale. Okay, so yeah, my first Gartner company, so yeah, it was my first corporate job. So even though here at BTLB, we're part of BT, we're kind of a local business, right? So we still got the MD who you'll meet shortly. So we're a company of around 50 people. It wasn't the case there. There's probably around 13 offices globally, like, 30,000 employees, how many they are. So I kind of struggled with the adjustment initially. So I felt out of place because like you saw all these high flying salespeople and stuff. And yeah, I struggled to adopt in the first few months. And yeah, you're a bit more of a number there. It's difficult to build a personal relationship with companies that are so big, and I understand why. Like you wouldn't really get access to the people, you wouldn't be able to influence as much change, unfortunately. So on the back of that, when I joined, I actually ended this year, which was like a ramp target from July or August till December. The financial year from December to December, I was actually bottom of the list there. So towards my ramp target, I was only at 18%. So obviously, how I felt reflected in my performance there. So how it continues. So what I started to do, and something I'd advise you guys massively, is I started to invest in myself. So I don't know if you guys listen to any motivational speakers like Les Brown, Jim Rohn, Eric Thomas, Brian Tracy is also very good. So I just thought to myself, look, I'm commuting to work every day for around 40-45 minutes. Like instead of listening to music or whatever I was doing, why do I not do things that are going to potentially help me, right? Why am I not reading books? Why am I not listening to motivational speakers? Why am I not trying to upskill and develop myself? Because it could have been easy for me to say, look, this company's not right for me. Let me give up after 3-4 months. But I thought, let me take a step back. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm in the wrong here, right? So I just kind of made sure I carried on. So grit stood out for me. So guts, resilience, initiative, tenacity. So that's massive. Again, in your personal life, professional life, like there will come a time in your life where things are going hard, things aren't going to plan, but you've got to kind of, like I say, double down and just try and invest in yourself. So I started picking up a bit more momentum, building my pipeline and closing deals on the back of investing myself. So again, I talked about reputation quite a lot when the guys were speaking, right? So I built a reputation for being the hardest worker in the room. So even these big corporate companies, or the smaller companies will see it, but even these big corporate companies, if you're making enough noise in the sense that they can't not notice you, right? If you're making, what I used to do is when I was on the phone, I'd get a headset, I'd walk around. It wasn't to show off, it was to walk around to like let my presence be felt, right? To create a reputation. So very quickly, in my second year, I learned a reputation of being the hardest worker in the room. I achieved my Q1, Q2 bonus, achieved my quota, and Winner Circle is like an incentive they had for the people who achieve over 115% within the year. And towards the end of my second year, I ended, as you can see there, fourth compared to where I was, around 124% to my number, and over £1 million in sales year to date. So again, when I look back at kind of where I come from and where I started, that's just to show you that absolutely it's great to hit the ground running, right? Like everyone wants to hit the ground running, everyone wants to do well, but just because you have a rocky 3-4 months doesn't mean it's the end of the world. You can turn things around if you invest in yourself and don't give up. So yeah, here's just a couple of emails from management again that I wanted to emphasize on. So I'll start with this one. So this was my line manager at the time. So as you can see, what I've mentioned there, first one in the office, last one to leave. Not sure if he actually leaves or not. Given the hours he puts in, we've come to the conclusion that he must have a very patient wife, which I do. And I actually got rewarded with a trip to Miami that year. So yeah, she said there, she took a few minutes to celebrate, and then you're straight back on the phone. So like I said, that's the reputation you build from yourself. We're very proud of your success and so forth, and we can't wait to see how you finish the year. And I had no option but to wear fancy suits after that comment. So yeah. And this was from one of the other managers here I don't actually report into him, he's a manager of a different team, but again, because I built that reputation, he said, no surprises here, you've listened all year round, being coachable, the epitome of hard work and dedication, I'm so proud of you. So again, that's someone I don't report into, I probably interact with him a few times a week, but because he's seen how I was, how much I put my head down, how hard I worked and how much I really wanted it, he was actually, emailing everyone on the back of that. Who's heard of fixed mindset, growth mindset?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Would you know about it?
Sorry?
Would you know about it?
So a fixed mindset, I would say, is someone that is not coachable, doesn't really it's just kind of like settled with where they are and kind of stuck in their ways. I think a growth mindset is when you're open to learning, open to, you know, understanding you can make mistakes, but you can always learn from it. Figuring out where the gaps are in your skills and wanting to like build on that as well.
Absolutely. Okay, that's a good answer, 100%. So, this was in Ghana. Where do you think this was? Like, where do you think in the building, or where do you think?
The front door.
The toilet.
Is it that? 100%.
Toilet.
You know, toilet, trying to dive and survive, trying to get 5-10 minutes.
Fair enough.
That was there in your face. You no choice but to read it, right? But that just shows you the level of company they were.
I
So
love that.
it's good about fair play to you for knowing that. Yeah. So yeah, no one normally gets that right. So as you can see here, like you mentioned, prefers the familiar, sees challenges as roadblocks and obstacles, doesn't want to adapt or change, like, you know, fears rejection, and thinks success is down to luck or fate. It's actually called the growth mindset, but they actually named it the Gartner growth mindset. But yeah, again, believes the business can and grow faster, embraces challenges as problems to be solved, evaluates activities and scope, is persistent and resilient, and believes success is earned. So again, this is, you know, massive. Anything you do, there's actually a book from Dr. Carroll on mindset. So if you guys do read, definitely recommend that book. It just shows you that, you know, step out your comfort zone, fix mindsets and stuff. And yeah, this was when I went to Winner's Circle in Miami there. So yeah, that was in 2019. So again, just kind of rewarding all your achievements and stuff. I was then MK, who you guys will meet shortly, was the MD of the manager. He was a sales director back in 2020, and a friend of mine used to work here, and they headhunted me back. And so Omar, his name was, he asked me to come back. I said things have changed about how they were previously here. So I came back in February 2020. It's been just over 5 years now, but in March 2020, COVID happened. So like I've gone, as you can see in my journey, I've gone ups and downs. So I thought this is a really good career move for me, but COVID happened, right? And unfortunately, I joined in February, so I was kind of, in essence, I probably could have been without a job. So I wasn't sure if my job was secure. I was on furlough for 6 months, but I returned in October 2020. However, it was full-time working from home. So even though I've done this job before, I was out the game for around 2-3 years. So it was still very difficult for me to adapt working from home when you can't collaborate and network with people. Again, a lot of you guys, my advice would be, I appreciate everyone wants flexibility and hybrid working, but I would strongly recommend trying to get in the office as much as possible. Again, the office 3-4 times a week minimum, because that's where you're going to learn. Like if you're working from home, especially in your first SDR role, I'd strongly recommend, advise against it. I get it, it's got its perks and stuff, but like I said, you learn so much from rubbing shoulders with other people. You learn so much from, you know, random meetings and stuff, and it's difficult to do that at home. So try and find kind of that right balance for you. So obviously, as I was here previously, I've done well. There's a lot of pressure on me to outperform, do well and stuff. So what I tried to do, as you can see here, I came back as a senior AE, but I was still working as an SDR. So I was making 80 or 100 calls a day, because my title was that, I knew I had to start from scratch and build my pipeline and so forth. So this probably won't mean a lot to you guys, but this is like a sales tracker. But all of these kind of products and stuff we do here, like based on what I've done eventually, or what I was doing before I got promoted, like very small. So you see deals here like for £69, £87, which is a few bigger deals there where it's like 5k and stuff. But my point here is that, like, just because I came back as a senior, I wasn't turning my nose down on anything. I was like doing whatever I could get my hands on and just kind of getting in the deep end and stuff. So again, so from there I started working my way up and stuff and started doing decent numbers. I ended the year, obviously my first year I ended averaging 18.5, kept on building my brand. The second year I ended on 40k, so you can see the progress has went up there. And that's an email there saying the highest talk time in the business, including lead gen, which are like our SDRs now. So even though I was a senior, you can see that I was making more calls and dials than even the SDRs at the time. And when was that? June 2021. So again, you can see some slight progress here. So I was on averaging 40k, averaging 44k, kept on collaborating and learning from others, which I say is massive. Then I was averaging 60k, and I started getting more involved in kind of the leadership side of things because I was helping the MD a bit more. And then obviously when I got my promotion in 2020, towards the end of 2024, I was averaging like 77k. So you can see like everything is a process, right? We had some people joining the business said, "Oh, how can I earn the money you make? How can I do the numbers you do?" I was like, "Look, it's a process. You can't just go start here and expect to go there. You've got to take the baby steps, right? Like some of you guys may have gone into tech because you want to earn 100k. Like, I'll be honest with you, that's probably not realistic within your first few years. You've got to earn your 40k, earn your 60k, earn your 80k, then earn 100k. Does that make sense? You can't kind of just go from there to there because, it's patience. And here's one of the operations team just saying, look after the customers, excellent customer service and stuff like that. So again, anything like this that backs, the work you've done, keep a record of this for your brag folder and stuff. Who uses LinkedIn here? Everyone? Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
What do you use it for?
Just
Networking? Yourself? Content creating?
Yes, actually. Personal branding
Yeah.
and networking.
Cool. So I mentioned brag folder here, so I just took a few snippets and screenshots. So these are the people that I worked with before. So Lucy was one of my colleagues at Gartner. Obviously I won't read the comments there, but you can see kind of what she said. Paul Arnie was a customer of mine when I was at Gartner. Mika was another client of mine. Abby worked in the marketing team within Gartner, but you can see the kind of comments she was leaving. Fast forward to BT here, Miguel was a client of mine, Gideon was a client of mine, and Victor and James Bryan were a client of mine as well. So again, these guys who have all left comments on my LinkedIn and stuff like that just to kind of test me to them. Some of them left it off their own will, some of them asked them, look, can you leave a comment from me based on your advice from me? But again, when I talk about building a profile, building a brand and stuff like that, if I turn up to an interview now and they question anything, I can just present this, right? So you need to be in a position where you have things to back up what you say. It's one thing saying something, it's another thing backing it up. LinkedIn, I love LinkedIn, and I think things like this are massive. So any opportunity you get to build this kind of profile, make sure you do so. Okay, so my professional career and what I've learned. So look, don't get the 2-year itch. I was a victim of that, I'll be honest with you. This role I'm in now is my longest role that I've ever been in. And that's the reason probably why I did get promoted. When I was here previously, I got the 2-year itch. At Ghana, I got the 2-year itch. It's partly maybe due to my age or inexperience or being a bit impatient. But if you do want to progress and go long, doesn't mean that if you're not in the right place, don't move. But try not to get the 2-year itch and try and kind of have patience and nothing happens overnight. So we touched on the growth mindset and being coachable and not fearing failure. And yeah, we also mentioned about the kind of corporate companies. Unfortunately, just a number sometimes. So yeah, just kind of bear that in mind. And yeah, look, in sales, titles don't matter. And I love you guys. You probably hear, a few of the guys here report into me, but they've got like account director on their LinkedIn. They're not account directors. So it isn't really like, don't pay too much homage to titles. Like what really matters is like you're earning and you're learning and you're developing and growing on what you're doing. Massive thing is be all in. Like I've been a victim of this as well. Like, if you have one foot out the door, like that's going to reflect in your tonality, it's going to reflect in how you turn up, it's going to reflect in do you make that extra call or not, do you send that extra email or not. So it's a massive difference. So look, like I said, some of the guys here probably earn as much as doctors and lawyers and other sales companies as well, right? Talking about 100k, 150k and beyond. Like that's huge. Like you couldn't do that unless you went somewhere and studied for like 5 years, right? Doctor, lawyer, whatever. So you've got potential here to earn a lot of money. However, you've got to kind of apply the fundamentals. You don't have a one foot out bad mindset. So yeah, a bad day doesn't mean a bad week doesn't mean a bad month. So like, hopefully start your careers in sales. Like this is what we look for here. Like be 100% committed, which we touched on already. Think long term. Be coachable, adopt a growth mindset. Like, if people are trying to help you and stuff, like take that on board. Don't try and think you know it all and stuff. Work ethic is massive. It's not going to go anywhere. If anything now, work ethic probably stands out more because some people don't work hard anymore. They look for shortcuts. Integrity and trust is massive. Like, are you integral? A couple of our guys work from home on Thursdays and Fridays. Like, are you actually working or are you abusing this? Communication and transparency. So be organized and professional. So like, if leadership, your manager asks you to do something, say, these 4 guys now, I emailed them on Sunday, I think. I said, have this presentation ready for me on Monday night. Guess what? They will email me on Monday night. So I didn't have to chase any of them. So things like that. If your manager asks you to do something, as long as it's within reason, just kind of, respect that and do that. Sam Walton, who I believe is the CEO, or I think it's Walmart in America. So high expectations are the key to everything. So it shouldn't come to your line manager or someone telling you, look, do things at this standard. You should yourself as an individual be like, my expectations are up here, right? Mm-hmm. So you guys need to be at my level of expectations to be where you want to be. A few other things. Negativity, like you guys probably heard about, negativity is a massive thing. Like, unfortunately for us, when we're a sizable company, if you have one bad apple, you guys probably heard, right? It spreads. So for us, like, look, it happens, right? So it was a tough gig. We don't expect everyone to be happy-go-lucky and jolly all the time. However, try not to like be that person who starts that negativity, or try not to be that person who even listens to them, because a lot of negative people, all they want to do is bring you down. So like, try not to be part of that circle. If you're having a bad day or whatever, you know, take a break, take 5-10 minutes, but try not to engage in that, because unfortunately what will happen is there'll only be a spiral of more negativity. Like I think what's the right word, misery likes comfort, right? So something along the
Misery likes company.
Misery likes company, exactly that. So you're like, people will look for that in a sales office. So just try to avoid that angle. Take pride in your work. So like, you know, a massive thing for all of us here, just get things right first time. Like, be accountable for who you are and what you want to be. What your goals are, we touched on already. Be a team player. So again, it's very, very important. Look, we're in competition in sales, right? It's a competitive role, it's a competitive nature. However, you should want to see your colleagues do well. You should want to see others doing well as well, because that's going to drive you. And obviously put the customer first from an internal perspective from our end. That's me. Any questions?
What does strong work ethic look like to you?
That's a good question. Strong work ethic is like, are you saying you're giving 100%, or you're actually giving 100%, right? Because people in leadership positions, they generally know the difference. So it's not about kind of faking it to be making it. It's about like, are you actually zoned in and stuff? Like, some of my team, I'll see them walking around. Some of my team, I'll call them and they won't get my attention because they're so zoned in, right? So it's just about being someone, like, people shouldn't question your work ethic, is probably the right way to put it, right? So if you know you're working hard, obviously unless it's a bad leader, right? They shouldn't question you because you haven't given them an opportunity to question you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you put your head down and knuckle down, then I'd say that's probably on them, you know, because you may get some micromanagers and stuff try and whip, but you know, in essence, if it's a good manager, like, they'll understand that you're working hard, and there's no reason to question your work ethic.
Because I was just essentially thinking, because I know that sometimes it's about, you know, the quantity of the calls that you're making and stuff.
Yeah.
I know quality matters as well.
That's a good question.
So, like, how do you?
So to answer that, like, we look at talk time and volume, right? So from our perspective, you're 100% right. So if someone's dials are, let's say, 10, but their talk time is an hour, someone's dials are 35 and their talk time is 45 minutes, we probably value that person that's made $10 an hour talk time. Because it's about finding that balance, right? So you've got to, it's case by case, but quality is as important as quantity as well.
Yeah, sorry, just had 2 questions.
Yeah.
First one, so you were talking about the 2-year itch.
Yeah.
But in your experience, you was headhunted for quite a few of the roles. So obviously you were making the right noise. So I don't know, how do you?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think you probably got to define where you are now. Like, is it where you want to be long term? Do you see progression there, or do you think it's time to move? I'm not saying don't leave companies, because 2 years, you know, if people would interview with us and they said they've been somewhere for 2 years, that's a good stretch to me, right?
Yeah.
The reason why I'm probably saying that now is for me to get in the leadership position where I've been now. I've been there for 5 years. Prior to then, it'd been like 2 years at a company. So that's probably from personal experience. But if you feel there's progression available after 2 years, stay. Or on the flip side, if you feel there's an opportunity outside that's better than that's going to help you progress more, take it by all means, you know. But for me personally, like, yeah, looking back, I may have progressed at other companies had I stayed beyond the 2 years.
The second one was more about the interview process. So talking about the passion, the why for the person. So really, do you care more about their passion in themselves or the passion for the industry, whether it be like telecoms now, or how do you assess it?
It's different. Like I said, me personally, like, I'm not passionate about what we said as such. It's difficult to get passionate. It depends, right? Sometimes, like, people say love what you do, and it's difficult. Like I said, if I was working at a sales company for cricket, I would love it. I would be passionate, but that's my passion outside of work, right? I don't necessarily agree that you have to be passionate about what you said. You have to be passionate about what you do, as in you have to be passionate about being a salesperson and passionate about what that's going to get you outside of work. You don't necessarily, in my opinion, obviously people may differ. In my opinion, I don't think you necessarily have to be passionate about cybersecurity or passionate about fintech, as an example, right? You just need to know enough about it and be passionate about helping people and passionate about the end result.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, agree.
So are you basically looking for honesty?
Yeah, like, be honest, like, look, we invest, like, as us personally, I can't speak on everyone else, but we invest more in the person. Like, is this person going to be coachable? Is this person going to work hard? they have goals outside of work that's gonna allow them to put in a shift here to get that right. Like I said, you guys are new, so we don't expect you to know everything about broadband or mobile or internet or whatever. But we expect you to know enough about the company and know enough about where you want to go.
A few people have mentioned,
After you.
how they had stretches where they weren't hitting quota or like getting any results. What does that feedback process look like when you're having like supervisions with them? Is it like your job is on the line, or is it more from like a coachability, development?
Yeah, good question. I think a lot of it depends on the attitude of the person. Like again, like I said, we can read people and stuff. So if we see people kind of come in, they kind of trying to dump dive and survive, take a few sick days. Look, genuine sick days do happen, but if we know someone's taking a sick day and just for the sake of it, they're milking something, and their performance isn't great, we know that they're probably looking for a way out. Whereas if someone's working hard, they're showing up on time, they're asking the right questions, they're actually putting in the shift, we would invest in that person and try and take them there. But to answer your question, look, sales isn't for everybody. I'll be honest with you in that. Like some people, we had people here in the past that sales wasn't for them. Nothing wrong with them personally. They worked hard and stuff, but sales is a tough job. So like, and it's not for everyone. Jack probably agree, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, look, it's not for everyone. Like I've had cousins in the past, friend members been like, oh, yeah, I'll go into sales. Oh, it's not for me and stuff. But they're trying to belittle sales like it's beneath them, but no, it's the opposite. Like you couldn't do sales. That makes sense, right? You've probably seen it all the time, right? So that people try and belittle it. Oh, I don't be a sales guy. Like a bad reputation, but probably heard of this quote. Sales is the hardest, easiest job in the world. Anyone heard of that? Sales is the hardest, easiest job in the world. Hardest job because of how hard it is, everything we mentioned, right? It's the easiest job because, like I said, you're not doing rocket science or brain surgery here, but you can make a lot of money. So it's just about doing, like, it's like going to the gym, right? Like everyone knows what to do, everything's there for you, everyone knows what to eat, but it's, are you going to do it for a substantial amount of time? Same with sales. That's why a lot of your personal life, sports, gym, whatever, is in relation to sales. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So you had a question?
Yeah, clearly you're into your quotations and self-development.
Yeah.
So any books, because I'm a fan of reading, and one of the books I keep going back to is How to Win Friends.
I was about to say that, Influence People, yeah.
Brilliant book.
Beautiful book.
Yeah.
That's the first book I read, ever read.
Yeah, me
So,
too.
it's, what's the guy's name again? Dale Carnegie.
Dale Carnegie.
Amazing book, yeah. So that's one of the best. There's a lot of sales books out there. James Clear, Atomic Habits. I don't know if anyone read that. Yeah, very, very good book. Very, very good book. That's another one. Mindset by Dr. Carol. Very good story about
You mentioned that,
mindset. Yeah. So these kind of books, like you mentioned there, like the ones that got a good reputation, is for a reason.
Yeah.
They are very, very good books. So,
Old school book, that is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but the thing is, it's timeless. It still works now.
Yeah.
So a lot of these things are timeless because I think that was in the 60s or 70s, right?
Exactly.
It's still around now. Yeah.
Got a question on my end. I mean, looking at the metrics from like the business perspective, obviously you're not day-to-day managing the SDRs, but what sort of metrics are you looking at when you're seeing how well they're performing, number one?
Yeah.
And number two, what is your like pet peeve or like what's a massive red flag? Obviously, turning up late, for me, pisses me off.
100%.
What for you is like a non-negotiable?
It's a good question, yeah. Yeah, things like lateness. Look, there's two things, right? There's things of will and skill. So like, if it's skill, what we say is that it's on us, right? We need to upskill you. So me, Eric, and the MD, we take that on board. Like, we need to upskill you. To answer your question, a red flag will be will. Like, are you actually trying? Are you turning up on time? Are you taking the piss with sick days? Like, all these kind of things are more will, right? If we're having a coaching session here and we give you guys feedback, are you willing to apply that, right? Mm-hmm. So if it's anything will related, that's probably a red flag for us. It's not anything that stands out other than the things you mentioned, but it's more an accumulation of, look, we've tried this and this, but these are will issues, they're not skill issues. When it's a skill issue, we take that on board, like maybe you haven't got the right tools, maybe we haven't provided the right external coaching, whatever it may be, right? Yeah. So that's how I would kind of answer that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, 100%. And then what was the other question I had for you was, when you're managing, when you're looking at the metrics, is it like meetings booked? Is it?
Yeah. So here's a good question. Yeah. So here, where we have the advantage for our SDRs is they get paid commission on meeting booked and gross profit, which is GP. So if they book a meeting for an AE and that deal goes on to sell, that X amount of GP, they'll get half of that. So say a deal sold for £10,000 GP, £5,000 of that will go towards their target. However, say they've booked, 40 meetings that month, but unfortunately due to wrong time, wrong place, or salesperson couldn't sell it, they still get targeted towards the amount of leads they book. So that's why we've done it that way, because we feel like we want it to be in their control.
Yeah.
Some companies may do it, look, you only get paid on if the deal sells. Or some companies may do, look, you only get paid on the amount of meetings you book. But here, we want you to be in control of both aspects. So sometimes people hit like 25 appointments, they get some commission from there. They hit £10,000 GP, they get some commission from this to get the best of both worlds, if that makes sense.
Nice, yeah.
So.
Are you guys hiring?
I was waiting for that. I lost the man. Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, I have a question. More to do with the culture, to be honest. So when I came to the office, just seeing people sitting next to each other, cold calling, etc. I was saying to some of the guys earlier in the break, like when I've been in SDR in companies, it's like startups, some of the early SDR, etc.
Yeah.
How conscious of a decision was that for you guys to create the culture like that?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I'll be honest. You come to this office, right? You didn't come to our last one.
No, I didn't.
Our last office wasn't great. I'll be honest with you. And like me and MK, who I'll bring in shortly, like. We were very, very conscious of, like, we're big on work hard, play hard. So like we'd have things like table tennis tournaments, pool tournaments. Look, it's not, that doesn't keep people at companies and stuff, but it helps, right? We do things. I went to Toca Social. I've never been in Toca Social. We did that for a day together and stuff. Like, we want people to enjoy kind of where they work, because sales is tough, right? So if we can do things that would help them enjoy that. But to answer your question, the big thing we're big on here is collaboration, because I'm sure Jack and yourself have worked in sales environments where it's quite cutthroat. That's the worst place you want to be, because like you're just watching your back, and that's the battle in itself, let alone the job. So here we try and encourage people to, if someone's had a good cold call, or someone sent a good email that had good feedback, share that with the team. Even though you're in competition with them, like just try and benefit each other and see the bigger picture, because your competition is people out there rather than in here as well.
I was going to ask about, obviously you were talking about upskill.
Yeah.
But that's like you taking it upon yourselves to help the SDRs or whatever.
Yeah.
But can the SDRs actually find programs themselves in their own free time or something? Do you guys have that available here?
As in, do we fund towards that, or?
Well, not fund towards that, but like just like small little modules and stuff. I don't know, things available.
Yeah,
is that available to them?
No one's come to us with that, but yeah, by all means, like, if people want to come to us and say, look, I feel like this could help me, 100% we'll be up for that. Yeah.
One of the small things, I think, looking at the officer, get Simeon, he's dressed well, you're dressed well. Yeah. How much of that is important going to like a corporate environment, especially some people that might have worked in different walks of life, right?
Someone once told me, dress smart, think smart, and it stuck with me. Yeah. It's like a big thing. Like, I'll be honest, some other local businesses, some offices, they'll have like a smart casual. Problem is that smart casual very quickly turns into casual, and that turns into tracksuits and sliders. Do you know what I mean? So we are quite strict. I'll be honest. I was like smart wear, but the reason behind it is because like we work in the city of London. Like if you wanna teams meeting with a client, even if they're not dressed smartly, because they're in that position, you want to be dressed smartly, right? We have client meetings and stuff, so you want to be in the best position. And dress smart, think smart actually works. Like when I'm working from Thursday and Friday some days, and I'm in my tracksuit and t-shirt, I don't feel as on the ball, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's productive.
You're a bit more relaxed, right?
Yeah.
Whereas here, like we ask everyone to like represent themselves.
I like it.
What's it like managing a bunch of people from different backgrounds and ethnicities?
We love it. It's perfect. I think I don't know if anyone saw my LinkedIn or not, but we had like about 49 employees here. We've got about 24 different nationalities. So when Simeon said that, that's massive to us. And like how I see it, look, we work in London, right? So you guys are going to cover every type of nationality and culture and stuff. So, if someone's speaking to an Australian company, Josh will speak to them. We've got a South African guy called Hugo. We have Nigerians, we have Indians, Pakistanis, every type of kind of nationality. We've got 24 of them. Like we've got a lot covered, and I think that's massive because you can learn from everyone, right? So the way you do things, or Simeon does things, or someone else does things, you learn from that. Because if you're all the same, you're not going to learn anything. Does that make sense?
What is one thing that you'd say, one quick take home, because obviously all of us are pretty much transitioning from different, myself as well, coming from education and coming to sales. What is one thing you'd say that you definitely look for when someone's applying for a role? They haven't got any form of sales experience background, but just looking for that first breakthrough.
I'll say hone in on why do you want to get into sales. That's the reason why I started this talk with that. Like, I want to understand why do you want to get into sales? Because like I said, you guys haven't just rocked up one day and been like, I want to part with £300 a month. There's a reason behind that, right? So what got you there? So whether it's career journey, whether it's want to help people, like hone in on why you go into sales and interview. Like, obviously one part is your personal goals, why the second part is your why you're going to sales. That's like, some people fall into sales, but you guys haven't. You guys have taken the choice. So, me personally, I kind of fell into sales due to kind of my father and stuff. But with you guys, you're taking the decision to fall into sales, right? So there must be a reason why you're spending X amount of money per month to try and get into a sales role. So you need to emphasize on that in the interview stage. Make sense? Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about autonomy.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to people you manage, is that
Yeah.
something that you feel can be taught? Or is that something you have taught, or is that something you've either just got or you don't have? Because everyone's talking about how you're a business within the business.
Mm-hmm.
That was always going to require like a high level of like autonomy and what's the word I'm looking for? When you just do things without being told, you're just on the ball. You're
Initiative.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously from our perspective, look, we like to encourage everyone kind of working within that environment where they can, like I think I may have mentioned, it's your business within a business, right? So you've got your laptop and phone, you've got customers you can go after here, so you can run that like your own business, right? But at the same time, you get support from people as and when needed. From our perspective, like, you know, sales is very important to read the room and stuff. So when I'm managing people, I understand, like I said, you pick up on people's feelings. Sometimes if I see someone's not as bubbly as they are, or not as cheery as they were, I'll ask them, is everything all right? People could have issues in their personal life, professional life, whatever it is, right? So try and, like, especially you guys as well, when you like read the room, if you're reporting into a management or something, you want their help, if you can see they're a bit down or they're a bit busy, like maybe give them a bit of time and try and read the room and understand when is the best time for you to approach that person. Does that help, yeah?
Yeah.
So,
In your leadership role now, you still involved in sales?
yeah,
If
absolutely.
not, like,
Yeah, I was
do you miss it?
Nah, it's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I not as much, of course, but I also get on calls and stuff, and it's probably even more important now that I represent myself in the right way because, you know, I need to practice what I preach, right?
Yeah.
So a big part of it is like, we had a regional call with someone in BT yesterday. It's a bit slightly off topic, but we're underperforming in one metric. And unfortunately, the problem is like this lady, like she's very good at what she does. However, she's never done sales. So like when we're trying to explain things to her, like it's very difficult for her to understand where we're coming from because she's not been in the trenches. So we understand what the customers are saying, but she's looking at it from a high level because of her role.
Yeah.
So what gives me an advantage is because I've done that role you've done. So, you know, you can't really bullshit me if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if you say that this and this, I'm like, no, hang on a minute, I've done that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So
You got that experience.
Exactly, yeah. So my experience, like, it's different per industry maybe, but for me, sales, like to be in a leadership sales role, I don't know, Jack, if you agree, I think you have to done sales at one point in time.
100%.
You agree, yeah?
Even really, if you look at most organisations outside of tech, the people at the top, lawyers, you know, investment bankers, guys at the top, they're all doing sales roles, or they've had sales experience. So,
Any other questions?
Just a final one.
Yeah, go on.
On yourself as well. You've spoken about your background. What is your future? Like, what sort of goals do you have for yourself?
Yeah, like from my perspective, look, as long as I'm learning and earning, obviously, look, I'm still new to leadership, so it's only been like 8 months or something. Even like today, like, you know, credit to Jack, like, you know, this is an experience for me. Like, you know, I get excited. Like, for me, public speaking is something I was similar to Amir, nervous about. I've never done it right today, but like, yeah, you know, yeah. Thank you, yeah. But like, that was probably my biggest flaw because I'm quite introvert as a person. You probably wouldn't experience it now, but I've had to come out of my comfort zone. So anything you do in life, you've got to come out of your comfort zone. Like, I was probably most nervous about leadership because of, you know, public speaking and stuff like that. And I knew that was a big part of it because communication and stuff. So yeah, just about getting out of your comfort zone. But obviously I know I'm far away from where I want to be and stuff. So it's just about getting better at what I want to do. Obviously trying to learn and earn at the same time. I think that's a big thing. All good?
amazing. Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Smash it, mate.
Thank you, guys.